right, what up, everybody? Nate here. Saturday, July 3rd, 2021. I wanted to hop on here. Kind of do a part 2 of my last video. Just doing another example of how I build my library, and then show a few examples of how just why it matters so much to build this library. So I want to go ahead and get right into it. Keep this on Word document. Just real quick on people worrying about the layouts. I keep page setup. I pretty much do everything from an inch to a half inch. Make the page a little bigger. Use Helvetica. Let's see. Well, it's not picking that up right now for some reason, but it's Helvetica. 28 or 26, 14. And when I'm writing, usually I do like 10 or 12 text under it. And sentiment is what I do last. So after I've studied everything else, news releases, option barriers, all the articles, that's when I can really get my sentiment. Well, today actually it's going to be really easy to explain because it was really just one news event. It was really NFP that mattered today. But I just want to show people how I fill this out again. I was going to keep on showing examples over and over again, and then we're going to start getting into some trades. So I go get my currency chart since I specialize in currencies. I have a shortcut for it down here, currency-strength.com. Use snippet or the snipping tool. It should already come on if your computer's relatively new. Already come on your computer. I just grab this, copy, go back to my paste. So now as you see, USD, Euro, JPY, GBP. So CAD, obviously NZD, they're really big today. AUD, those are all commodity currencies. Usually those, if one of those do well, usually they all do pretty well. So that helps me out a lot in currencies because I can clearly see, and you can see this in real time as it's going under the day, but you can clearly see what's the best performing currency by the minute or what's outperforming. Because when I go over to my platform quick, over here I have the 7 major pairs. Everything, if it's tied to US dollar, it's a major pair. So I have the Australian dollar versus US dollar, New Zealand dollar versus US dollar, British pound versus US dollar, euro, US dollar versus Canadian dollar, US dollar versus Swiss franc, US dollar versus Japanese yen. So 7 pairs, 8 currencies. The US dollar is tied with the other 7. These are all the major currencies of the world. So this blue line right here starts the day. So let's look at Australian dollar. So Australian dollar, there was a news event right here, non-farm payroll, price took off. So it's like a fraction. So it's like I have, so it's like if price moves up, that's either good for Australian dollar or bad for US dollar. In this case, it's more so good for Australian dollar. It wasn't really bad for US dollar. I'll explain it in a minute. But when I look at these, see New Zealand versus US dollar is basically the same chart. GBP, basically the same chart. Euro, not as strong. US dollar is quoted first and versus Canadian dollar, so it's going to be inverse. So Canadian dollar, another commodity currency, that's basically inverse of this. I mean, basically inverse. Oil is tied to Canadian dollar, really good. Usually when their commodities do well, they all do well. Swiss franc, safe haven, it even did well. JPY, so everyone invested US dollars today based on the non-farm payroll. So, but even through all these, I can tell US dollar was weak, but how can I tell exactly which one was the strongest? Well, that website helps me out real quick. So I just grab that from that website. News releases. Oops. and make sure this lines up with your time. You can change that real easily. I have to change that often when I do back testing because I have to change it to the coordinated universal time, the UTC time. Anyway, so where I keep this on an Excel file. Sometimes, occasionally, I'll call, like this was the main news today. It's 7:30 a.m. non-farm payroll. So I could copy like the major one for the day, or I may just write it in. I'm not going to copy everything. I'm going to do that on an Excel file. On my Word file, I just want to put what was the major news event for the day, because not all those news events mattered. So I just grabbed that. I'm going to show my Excel file, and I'll show that in a second. I'm going to grab my option barriers. There's a couple places you can get this. Usually this is a place post them the quickest, usually in the afternoon before the next day. So these were Friday's expiries. I had to copy from up here because this likes to collapse for some reason when I copy it individually. Paste. That. Nice. So market research, those are all of my free sources. So we get right into it. You can go to Reuters.com, CNBC.com, Reuters Central Bank, CNBC Central Bank, centralbanking.com, central bank news info. Then we get some poundsterlinglive.com, for I love trading the pound specific, pound sterling forecasts, exchange rate. Let's see, Action Forex, FX Empire, Investing Cube. I did add a new one, Crypto Slate. It's okay. It's trying to find some solid cryptocurrency news sources. So go here, see what's on the front page. If there's any, I'm looking for market movers. If there's any socioeconomical or anything that I'm personally interested in that's not due to the markets, I'm going to get that from Bloomberg, because I guarantee it's going to be there in a better, well-written article than Reuters. Reuters is not bad at all, but usually I like Bloomberg a lot better. So let's see. COVID was a market mover. It's not as much now. I mean, they're ramping up these variants. They could be, depends on what the lockdown. Australia has been really strict on their lockdowns, but I don't see this being a market mover right now. Florida building, guilty pleas, Capitol rioters. See these, I mean, this is on Reuters. Okay. This is the only article here that tells me like something going on in the markets. So I got that article, went right here. I'm gonna click markets. That's going to bring me to a new tab, so I don't need this home tab anymore. Go over here. I'm gonna search Forex, and I haven't searched a lot of other things since I'm into currencies, but I imagine you can just search whatever stock, crypto, whatever, and just the Dow. I mean, whatever, and you're gonna get articles. But there's a lot of Forex specific articles. So I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna hit date on that. I'm looking for July 2nd. So this is 1 a.m. Start with about the beginning of the day. I'll start from the bottom and go up, so I'm in order. Fortress, Australia, breaches. I can, maybe I'll add it. See, it's the same article. It's just updated. This is updated of this one. You can, when it's the same exact, basically the same exact title. It's just update. You don't have to click. You don't have to grab all of these. This same thing again. It's a little bit different. Get that one, same thing. Grab this one. Grab this one. Canadian. I'll grab this. This is my search page. I don't need any more. You can see all of these articles by their symbols. I'm gonna go to the CNBC. TSA screen. S&P rises. So there's a market article. Fed could be a surprise. Okay, I mean, they're saying something may happen over the weekend. Okay. Miami-Dade. See, none of these, I'm just looking at the front page. I'm not going through searching. I mean, the best stories are going to be on the front page. Only got 2 from there. Go back to Reuters, Central Bank. Some of these you end up getting from the Forex articles. When we go down to where I see July 2nd, see like July 1st right here, and July 2nd. Already got this article at Fortress or something. I know I got that in there somewhere. Yeah, Fortress. With Tom, I don't even know where that is. I mean, this is going to talk about a lot of all the central banks that have major news. I'm just looking for that main 8. So big tech, India, don't care about that. ECB, European Central Bank, yes. June Fed, yes. Fed Powell met with Coinbase. Don't really care about that. That's not going to be something for currencies going to move. Strong job numbers. Yes, it's U.S. news. Feds taper. Yes. Anything from the Fed like that we want. Coinbase. I'm sure there's going to be something like this on Bloomberg. So I'm not worried about this right now. Usually get from CNBC central banks. Usually get a Treasury yields article. Sometimes other things. They say July 1st, and these go back. Not a lot of articles. Central bank. ECB. Yep. July 2nd. Malawi. No. That. I don't think that's going to be a market mover. Even with the UK. Sure, I'll grab this one. And I'm not going to look too much farther. Angola, don't need that one. Sweden, like that. I mean, see, this is maybe hard to see. July 1st, don't need that. Usually I grab about all these on pound sterling. Usually they can get real specific. I'm talking about pound versus euro. Don't care about the South African rand. US dollar vulnerable. Let's grab that. Let's grab the pound. GBP, AUD. So I like these articles that talk about a pair specifically. Usually they've done all the technical and all the fundamental analysis, just sharing with what they know. Pound recovers against dollar. Strong data. Awesome. There's a lot of articles. Try a second. I'll just get one of these. Love this exchange rates.org.uk. I like to use these websites from the UK and different sources around the world, and it's not just like you're getting news out of there too. Grab pretty much all of these. OPEC with oil. It usually helps the Canadian dollar out, or tied to Canadian dollar. Stellar, and sometimes they'll have cryptocurrencies. I'll grab those. My sell search page, don't need that. A lot of effects. Dollar struggles to ride on strong NFP, like I've already said. From showing chart. I've already got an article on OPC, so I don't really need that one. No, I do pretty overkill. You gotta do this overkill. European equities, don't really care. Delta, don't really care. I'll see what Bloomberg's got for me. Stocks move higher. So 16. I mean, that was 8 a.m. Yeah, we'll get that. That was right after the neutral was released. XRP. Let's grab some Ripple. Doge, why not? Now, investing Cube, I just kind of grab whatever. I mean, sometimes there's stocks, sometimes there's Forex, a lot of times there's crypto. I'll just grab these, see what they got. Just building the library. Don't even have to read all of these. Just something to refer back to. Crypto Slate. Bitcoin Core, I don't know what that is. 5 days ago, 4 days. So it may not be not in new articles. All right. So I'm gonna hit the Windows key, pull this over, the Windows key, pull that over. Change this to 10. I'm not gonna read these right now because it's the weekend. I'm not really worried about it. I'll read these before. That's not supposed to be bold. I'll read these probably Sunday afternoon or something. Yeah, I mean, it was all about NFP today. Show more charts of that in a second after. So even with just not even going into the article yet, when you just read the headlines, they're all the same. I mean, all of these are talking about the dollar pretty much. There's one about the Australian dollar up there. Most of these are talking about the dollar because of NFP today. So it looks like a ton of articles. No, there's got to be a faster way to do this too. No, it's like a lot of articles, but they really are just like the same thing over and over again. I just do overkill because I want to see all of the different point of views and everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy these, speed this up. Okay, so now that I've gone through, I have all my articles, I have the option barriers, we're about to take a look at those. I can go and tell for sentiment. Sentiment said it either can write a paragraph or it can just be a few words. Like today, I could just go type risk on because I see that the Canadian dollar, New Zealand dollar, Australian dollar pounded it right at the level. And then lower interest rate currencies. Well, they're all low right now, but lower return currencies did not as good today. I mean, so it was risk on. I mean, the riskier currencies did well. It was bullish day. For stocks, see a bunch of articles, not even read them yet. S&P 500 rise 7th straight day. Everything's overextended. It's getting pretty wild as far as that goes. It seems like, I mean, there's a lot of money sitting out there. It seems like it could just keep on pouring into the stocks. But even with all this, of all these articles, half of them were about the dollar today and about this non-farm payroll. So I'm going to take a look at the news release first and then option barriers. So we'll look down on the 1 minute chart. So each of these candles is 1 minute. So that news release was at 7:30. So right here, 7:30, where I'm lined up. So the first minute, there was a spike down. It caught this round number everywhere. I had this gray line, had these gray lines every 50 pips. Usually price respects those often. So it spiked down from 5.8. So it spiked down about 10 pips, then rose. Let's see. Distance. That's the 70 pips right there from after the first minute spike. I would have entered about the second minute for that. So this looks about the same way. Move right here. 79.5 pips, a little bit further. And this could go on next Monday or could reverse. 96 pips, so this was a little bit longer. but not all pips are equal because it already told us the Australian dollar and New Zealand dollar were the better performing. Well, was that right? Hold on. Or no, Canadian dollar was the best performing. Canadian dollar. Yeah, that was right. Fucking on 100 went down 104 pips. Yeah, so if you, I mean, that's good money. Sell right here, put a stop loss, 20 pips up, 10 pips up, ride that down. Great trade. I mean, you do 1 to 5, you need 1 to 10 on these trades. Risk 1%, make 10%. Somebody can make, I mean, this is one chart. The same trade happened on every trade. Some of it's inverse depending on where the USD pair is. This was the big news today. And I mean, this is what we're looking for. So when I'm looking at trade, this is what I'm looking for, the spikes, like that, explosions of volatility. I mean, this is a lot of flatness right here. There's a big right here. These are the kind of trades we're looking for. I'm not looking for a lot of flatness. This may have been a trade, could have been some trades in here. I mean, yeah, this wouldn't, even against another safe haven, this would be. So that was the main story of the day. Well, I'll do go to my Excel file. Now those were, I mean, these are all USD pairs, but I'll go to this GP. So this is a lot. Even though I got all these labels, colors. So basically this is just copied from Forex Factory. Pull that back up. I mean, I'll just copy these over. I may have to delete a couple columns, but then NMI, I'll say no market impact if it's for that currency, or I'll write down what happened the first minute, what it ran into, different levels, just what happened. I know it's kind of different language right now. I'll teach you all this, how to decode, or just how to understand and write out where it goes. But this is what I do, just back test the news. I mean, this was the main of all of these currencies, of all this stuff going on in the world. This was the main news event for the day. This was a big trade. It was good money on this trade. So I can just say risk on. So I mean, this is filled out for the day. And so now I just started this new one. I save them by quarters. So I'm just starting. I usually like to keep the last day of the last quarter and then start on. So we're entering quarter Q3 now. So I'll do save as PC Q3 2021. I'm super paranoid about how I save mine. So I save mine on my local disk, USB 1, USB 2, and my OneDrive. I'll just save it on my C for now because I'm gonna leave it open. Daily overviews, daily research, Q3 because I got Q1, Q2 up there. So I'll save that. So I got Q2 pulled up, or even so. Let me just go back to that. So I mean, there's April 28th. I don't have all this filled out just yet because the articles are the most important thing. Once you have the articles, I mean, I can go back to any day across a number of websites that I got these links from and study what happened. But it's basically just about, it takes about, I'd say at least 3 months or so of doing this every day to really get a good grip of what's going on in each currency and each country. I mean, some of these countries are pretty small, even to have major currencies. I mean, Switzerland, Japan, New Zealand. I mean, these are small countries, but so they're pretty easy to keep up with as far as what goes on in them. But basically, as I pulled, I mean, now, so like 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, everything that comes out for currencies or what stocks, whatever you're trading, every piece of news is either going to be bullish or bearish or choppy. It's going to have either no effect on what you're trading, or it's going to be good or bad, every piece of news. So there's constantly different pieces of news coming out. So now that I have this library, I can go back and just once I see something happens or a certain news event goes a certain way, I can go look back to when's the last time that happened, and it's usually not that far ago. Far back is how far I have to go. Usually not far at all. Also, currencies already pay me, but like I said in the first thing, you can use these to find. I had one. I should have had a couple more ready to go, but I remember there was one in May because I'm all about the currencies. But I remember there was. Oh yeah, so Friday, May 7th. This article right here: Australian dollar resilient as iron ore prices eclipse China tensions. So that tells me if the Australian dollar is going to be doing pretty good because of iron ore surging. So it says this came out May 7th, 7:49 BST. So that came out at 1:4. So that came out early May 7th. So I'm going to look at just digging. So the currency's already paid me. So go Australian dollar and US dollar. I may have to zoom back a little bit. Let me go to 1 hour chart. Oh yeah, we're going to go back to May. So May 7th. So that article came out about 2 a.m. our time. So, right in here. So that article came out, and there may have been some news this day. It's about the time news can come out. But if you would have bought based on that piece of news, you would have been in profit for the next 2 days. Price eventually came back down. But what I do with that, so if someone would have read that article, you remember a lot of these articles are getting clicks, and all these articles, it's just chores to them. They just have to put out this information each day. It's not necessarily, and sometimes they'll hype up some information that doesn't need to be hyped up, and sometimes information comes out pretty boring. It's actually pretty useful. So I would have already got paid on Australian versus US dollar, and I'm sure I got paid against Australian versus yen, Australian versus Swiss franc, probably Australian versus all of them. Maybe not against Australian versus New Zealand dollar, obviously, because if they're all doing well, it's hard to battle those out. Usually those commodities battling against each other can stay in a range for a long time. So what I can do with this information, though, is I'm not going to go, if I'm looking into stocks, the first thing I'm going to do, so Australian dollar resilient as iron ore prices eclipse China tensions. Australian dollar resilient was on a show over the past 24 hours as surging iron ore prices provided a protective barrier against news that China was walking out of a key trade agreement. Respect. So it's telling me that iron ore is doing well. So what am I going to do with that information? So what I could do, right? What we got? Let's look at these top three. Vale, SA, Rio Tinto, BHP. What is a ticker? Vale, RTNTF, BHP, right? Is that? All right, so I started this list today for this exam, so I'm just going to add them. Usually I keep my currencies and stocks and different things separate, but I'm just going to add to this one for this example. So BHP, this is probably them. I already can't remember those other ones. Vale, Rio Tinto. What was it? Something like that. I click out of that. Rio, right here. Yeah. So Is that May 7th? Of course, these sessions are different. Opens it. Whoops. Where we at? Okay, so this is 8:30 because I mean the market's open at 8. Stocks open at 8 Central Time for us. So that article came out at 2 a.m. So you could have had if you would have had an order waiting as soon as the buy opened, if you had done like a 24-hour call option from right here, ended right here, I don't know exactly where it may have been 2 days or 3 days. Even if you did 2 or 3, you'd still be in profit those days. But I mean, this one that gapped, like I mean, it gapped it. It went so high. Like this, I mean, this is our stock. So I mean, that article came out 2 a.m. Look at this. Veil gapped it. Gapped it. Oh, this is a mess. I think I'm looking at the wrong. I don't think I'm looking at the right thing on that. I was right. Yeah, gapped it. I mean, all these iron stocks gapped because of it surging, and they report on this information. It's not like this secret information or anything. So that's how I trade stocks when I do some options. I don't, back to my other videos, I don't buy a lot of stocks to hold on. If I'm going to use a hedge or think about an investment, I'm probably going to go more with cryptos, not stocks. I mean, this unless I just really care about the stock. But I'm not trying to marry the stock. I'm just trying to do an option on it. I'm just trying to do like a 1, 2, 3 day option because you see, it came back down. Days later. I mean, it continued to come back down. But based on that information, it surged for a minute. Probably took out a lot of highs up here for some past stops or something. But if you just did a 24-hour option, I mean, that's money. So that's how I find stocks usually. I'm not really just like sitting around thinking of like what stock's going to take off. I'm waiting for the articles to tell me. But again, I'm going after Tom. So it's like if AUD or NZD pays me based off that information, I don't have to go to stocks. That's just sprinkles at that point. It's just extra money. But just wanted to show that. But I want to go back to, let's go back to this news release. And this was the main thing. So, I mean, look how flat this is. I mean, you can't make money in this. This is what you need. You need big movements. I mean, this happened 7:30, day ended. You could cashed out. Some up here, 70 pips, almost 80 pips, 100 pips on other ones. I mean, lots of money. So on those types of trades, uh, on those types of trades, that can kind of become routine. So this was a USD based trade now. So what I may do, I don't want to put all those up. See what's coming up ahead of time. And I mean, Australians got a rate announcement coming up. If it's bullish, this could have been a good spot to swing from on Australian, because they're going to have an announcement come next week, or it tells me right here. Yeah, RBA rate announcement. So that's going to be right here. This is probably going to be bullish too. So this would have been a great, the news events can actually become kind of routine. These one-day news events, and they're going to exist forever. As long as these, the actual in the forecast has a deviation, because on this one, the reason what happened here, So the release came out at 7:30. It's like, how do you know that that's what release? Well, everybody knows that NFP has been in the trading for a while. NFP is always a huge event, or not always. Last year it was pretty dead for a little while, but starting to become more sensitive. A lot of these news events, I mean, this comes out at the first Friday of every month. So the change in the number of employed people during the previous month, excluding the farming industries, non-farm payroll. So we added 125,000 more jobs than what was forecast. And as you see from the last numbers, we're doing really good. Oil doing better. I mean, we're recovering. So you see US dollar, this was good news for the US dollar. They care more about the NFP than the employment rate, and this was pretty close to expectations. So I mean, NFP is what matter today, and just like back testing these news events over and over, you'll see that, or you'll pick up on those things. You'll pick up on the sensitivities, how it changes over time for different news events. Like right now, CPI price inflation is really sensitive right now. I'll show some examples of those in a video coming up. But so the way we look at this, a lot of people get confused in currencies because you really have to understand. I mean, macro is really the only way, because you have to understand the country as a whole. And that sounds daunting, but it's really not that hard after a while. And you probably already know more than you think you do off the bat. I mean, most people, or some people, know we get different commodities and different minerals and different things from like Australia, New Zealand. There's a lot of mining. A lot of people know we get a lot of oil from Canada. Just different kind of known facts. Maybe stuff people's dads are more familiar with than the average guy. But so the way we're looking at this event, though, is on like kind of a euro or Canadian dollar, or it was like a commodity currency. If a news event came out for unemployment or something like that, and it was good, usually that's going to increase like a commodity currency. But for US dollar or a safe haven, like I mentioned in the past video, this is good news for the US dollar, yet the US dollar decreased. Like, because Australian dollar went up. Like it went away, like it, see what I mean? It's like a fraction. So US dollar decreased. Why? Why was there good news come out about the US dollar, yet it decreased? Because as Americans or people in Switzerland, or people that keep their money at least in Switzerland or Japan, were really good investors abroad. So when we see that some good news has come out, we think to ourselves, okay, US is recovering. I want to invest my money. So when we put our money into commodity currencies or stocks or the other things, that decreases the value of the US dollar because we're putting our dollars into other things. So this is kind of true. This isn't, it really depends on the sensitivity, which is what I keep up with and what I want to teach you guys and share with y'all. But usually this is kind of, it could go either way. Like US dollar can be pretty tricky. It's so that's why I like to trade commodity currencies, the pound. Some of those are a little bit easier. I like to trade the clearest news events, what the trades that everybody's in on. Not trying to outsmart the market or hedge funds or anything. I'm just trying to trade in line with them. So these news events can become routine and will always be there. And that's great because you're only going after 10% a month. That's all I'm going after. I mean, there may be months down the road where I really dig in and go for some really big months, but 10% is balling. I mean, you can do whatever you want, make as much money you want, 10%. So the real work, and if you backtest and use an Excel file and explain what happened on each of these, some people don't even have to keep up with news events that are not news events, the articles as much, and more of a macro side. They can just keep up with straight news events, data style, and make some good trades. I just think doing the macro with a little bit of technicals, a little bit of news, a little bit of option barriers, everything works out together. So after that news, since the news was big today, it's usually the option barriers aren't as big of a play on days where news events. Usually option barriers might be a bigger play on days where news events aren't as important, but I want to explain those a little bit more, and I'm just going to keep on. It's going to be a little hard now. So you see Euro US dollar, you see these levels. Oh, this was a big one. These are massive. Usually they're not. So this is how much money is being bet on these levels. So 1.1950. So let's take a look at the chart. Euro USD. That's actually way up here. So this one wasn't threatened. Let's look at the others. 111, 111.75, 111.5 on UJ. Oh, so that one was hit. They expire at 10 a.m. or 9 a.m. for our time. So this one was hit. But basically, today's not going to be a good example since NFP hogged all of the volatility for the day. I got some great examples and screenshots. I am going to show these, but basically, so you got to be aware of the articles, what's going on each day, the news releases, and then on top of that, you got these crazy banks and hedge funds that are betting with each other on if these levels are going to get hit. And these are just leaks that we get. Some of them are really reliable, that the banks let out. They let us know how much money is being bet on those levels. Like a bank A goes to bank B saying, hey, I'm going to bet you $2.5 billion that this level is going to get hit. On top of keeping up with all the news and everything else, sometimes, so if there is no news releases today and it's kind of a boring day, these cause a little bit more of a ruckus. You'll really see these levels get targeted for no reason. Like you'll be looking at your news events, look at the articles, and you'll see like no reason. That's from the hedge funds. That's from the hedge funds and banks battling each other out because they make a deal with each other. One pays a premium to each other on if these levels are going to get hit. These could be one-touch barriers if their levels get hit. These could be no-touch barriers where they're betting the level doesn't get hit. We don't know that much information. We just know where the levels are and how much is currently being bet on them. But once it comes down to it, they're also using their own money on top of the bet already placed to push their trade further. So there could actually end up being billions and billions of dollars riding on these trades just because these couple of hedge funds are battling it out. So basically, with my template that I designed, everything can be, when you look at a chart, I've already told you there was a couple barriers for the day. I'm not going to go look through all these right now. I'm going to wait for a day where it was very clear. I have a couple screenshots I'll show, but you really want to be able to, like, I can give meaning to this pin bar right here. I can give meaning to why market moved the way it did. You want to assign meaning to the explosions of volatility. You can't assign anything to the flat parts, but on the explosions of volatility, you want to be able to explain those. So then when I find those, I go back to my library, my Excel file or my Word file. Because like I said, like with these currency releases, or I mean, these news releases, a lot of these happen every single month. Some of these, like NFP happens the first Friday of every month. The Fed meets about every month, 8 Feds. Usually there can be some big trades from the Feds. Usually the rate announcements cause some of the biggest trades. But a lot of these, I mean, most news releases don't cause any movement. So that's why a lot of people don't get into it, because you really have to study which ones matter and which ones don't, which I've been doing this for months now, almost a full year with this method. So I'm going to be sharing all that with you guys. And like this one, I've just been back testing GBP because I love GBP. I'm going to get into all USD pairs, Dow Jones, S&P, NASDAQ, Bitcoin, Ethereum, gold, silver. I'm going to be back testing everything based on the news. So it's going to be really good. I hope this helps. I'm just going to keep on rocking with the videos, keep going a little bit deeper and deeper each one. Next video, probably gonna do some basic MT4 trading view, some chart setups, getting some colors setups, and then just keep on rocking with it. So I'll see you in the next one.